So it was about 20 years ago, 2002, 2003, where I gave up media, TV and radio for Lent. And at the end of Lent, we visited family on Easter Sunday for lunch, and the television was on. And so I recall that it felt as though the television was hammering my senses. The contrast between the peace without media and the return on Easter Sunday was clear. So I made a resolution that I would not own a television, that I wanted to choose the media that I consumed. I haven't listened to the radio since, except by exception or mistake. So we now own a monitor, and the social media ads feel just like the intrusive TV commercials back in 2002. Hard to avoid without payment. And one of the things we consider during Lent is that whatever we're exposed to influences what we think and how we behave. Lent has become a time to pretend to break bad habits. And everybody knows, though, that they're going right back to gossiping, smoking, eating chocolate, and drinking alcohol on Easter Sunday. Lent, however, is not supposed to be a temporary break from our favorite vices for a 40-day period to test our willpower. Lent is a time set aside for fasting, for obedience, and for intimacy. So I quite enjoy, when in conversation with people I don't know, the pop references that they're referring to and the cultural moments that they're talking about. And it's one way to explore how people make sense of culture and the material that they consume. The most recent cultural moment was a pop song by Miley Cyrus called Flowers. And it seems to have become a great pop moment, especially with Valentine's Day recently. And I listened to friends and family reflect on the song, self-love and lamentation. To contrast, I enjoy reading and thinking about scriptures, ancient and modern philosophy, and psychological literature. I enjoy choosing the ideas and the people I'm exposed to and deliberately, piece by piece, build my own thoughts and behaviors around virtues and principles. That is a lifelong adventure. And I recently discovered that in ancient Greece, having a sculpted body was evidence of internal virtue. So I by no means ascribe to this somewhat outlandish, but not altogether false sentiment. But there is a value in routine physical exertion and in being physically fit, as the ancients have told us, and as Paul told Timothy about 2,000 years ago. So while it's important to be aware of news and what's happening in our culture, Karl Barth's words come to mind. Take your Bible and take your newspaper and read them both. But interpret the newspaper from your Bible. Solomon's Proverbs remind us that there is nothing new, that the creation of knowledge and books will never end, and that there is nothing new under the sun. And I think it was Aurelius or Seneca who said that it's great to read and to own books, but there just isn't enough time for reading it all. But we don't have to read it all. The scriptures have so many stories about many and various ways of dealing with life situations and ultimately living out the eternal laws and principles given us by God. And I think that's what's important. This month, I've been reading through the book of Israel's Exodus from Egypt, which contains the 10 Commandments. And Jesus summed up the 10 Commandments like this: love the Lord your God with everything you are. That's Commandments 1 to 4. And love your neighbor as yourself, Commandments 5 to 10. So set an aim based on ancient wisdom and weigh everything by the virtues and by the people who aspire to live out those virtues. It's been important for me to find people who have had the same aim and to look at ways to emulate them.